The Toyota Land Cruiser, Toyota's top choice and pinnacle of off-road engineering. Especially the 200 series with its superb engineering, styling, class. There's just one problem. I can't afford one.
But how does a Sequoia do better than a Land Cruiser? Especially with its independent rear end. I really am not qualified in this subject, though I am some sort of a Toyota expert. But there is one man that has been doing it for a while with his 2018 Sequoia, and today we're going to be diving deep into his rig.
The second generation Sequoia is a more affordable option when comparing both SUVs. And I think the one thing that people always ask is, what can you do to a second generation Sequoia? So who I invited here today, actually, well, he works here, but what we decided to do today is to bring Jonathan's second generation Sequoia, and we're going to show you guys everything that we have done to it so far. And what year is your Sequoia?
This is a 2018.
And how long have you had it?
I have had it, let's see, I have had it like 3 weeks shorter than my kid is old. So I've had it a week shy of a year. Wow. I put 50,000 miles on it. Oh, poor thing. I've ruined it, look at it. It was so perfect when we got it. I remember the day we picked it up.
Well, you didn't even clean it.
Yeah, but like...
Does this thing ever see a car wash?
It's been washed once because a good friend of mine gave me a lot of slack about not ever cleaning it, and his wife cleaned one door, and I couldn't leave it with one door clean. But it looks good all dirty, and I don't care about it so much.
Well, it's a trail rig. It's what you use it for.
Yeah, and it doesn't go through drive-through car washes.
And you've taken this thing quite a bit of adventures. You've gone to Colorado, and then from Colorado you went all the way to...
Yeah, we went to, let's see, we did New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, back to Colorado, back to Texas.
And on top of that, so you've actually owned fifth generation 4Runners and done similar kind of trips to them?
Oh yes, we've done some. I think the longest trip we did was 7,600 miles in a 5th gen 4Runner with 2 adults and 2 big dogs, and it was terrible.
It's terrible. So, and that's what led you on to the Sequoia, because it just has so much more room.
Yeah, absolutely. I had my kid, and I didn't think there was plenty of room for a family of 3, believe it or not, in a 5th gen 4Runner.
And it gets tight really fast.
Yeah, when you're trying to hang out and go camping for a week or 2, you got to carry a lot of stuff, especially if you got animals. And there's just so much more room in here.
Now, it's no secret, I am a stickler for Land Cruisers. I eat, sleep, and breathe Land Cruisers. And I asked Jonathan when he got his Sequoias, why did you choose the second generation Sequoia over the 200 series Land Cruiser?
The main reason was this was bigger. I wanted a bigger vehicle, and the 200 series Land Cruiser is like 4, don't quote me on that, 3 or 4 cubic feet larger in interior space than the 5th gen 4Runner, and that wasn't enough. Yeah, like you can put 4x8 sheets of plywood in the back of a 2nd gen Sequoia. You can't do that in a 200.
What all have you done to it? Because obviously this thing is like rigged out to have fun. And what size tires are you running on it right now?
These are Fury RTs, and they're 37 1250 17s.
37s?
Yes, 37s.
How hard was it to get the 37s on there?
It really wasn't, honestly. You got to do the body mount chop like every Toyota, so we did a body mount chop down there, and we had to trim some of the front fender liners out. And with the rears, I took the mud flaps off, and there was a little trimming here on the back of the door. There was some trim, and I trimmed some of that off. And I did put some bump stops on the back. I spaced the bump stops down and replaced them with Dura bumps.
So obviously there's a lift kit on this rig. What system are you running on it?
Elka out of Canada, we got with those guys, and they got us a 2.5-inch remote reservoir with dual adjusters up front, and it's essentially, actually it is the same as the Tundra, and then we have SPC adjustable uppers. And in the rear, we have a Dobinson 2.5-inch spring with an Elka 2.0 rear damper, and they are working on a 2.5 remote reservoir with adjusters for us. Okay, so as for slider protection, I have our Weld-On second Gen Sequoia slider set, and they've really held up well. I don't know if you guys recalled Jamboree last year, but I definitely landed on this one here, and I did put a little nick in the bottom of it, but it's held up just fine. And that's not the only time I've bounced off of ledges with these sliders, or actually bounced up ledges with the sliders.
This is our tandem front bumper, and I'm gonna let J-Lo kind of take it away on the rest of this because he has had more of his hands in the pot than I have about the Sequoia front bumpers.
Yeah, no doubt. So this is actually the prototype tandem front bumper for the second Gen Sequoia. They are all, so the Sequoia was 3D scanned, and these were designed in CAD. It is not a modified Tundra bumper. It is a second Gen Sequoia specific front bumper. It fits the lines really well. It actually, I mean, it looks super aggressive, but the version that we're going to be selling has light pod cutouts right here and right here, as well as a park distance control sensor right here. And then this light bar is moved inside the bumper, and we changed the pickup points for the tow hooks to accept a larger shackle.
And this is available right now, or?
Yeah, we're actually manufacturing one right now on that fabrication table. So
fantastic.
You can order them. You can go to the website, tandemoffroad.com, and you can absolutely order this bare metal or powder coated black. We designed this bumper around the Smittybilt X2O 12,000 pound winch, but I have an Apex Badlands 12,000 pound winch in there. It fits perfect. And I actually stalled that winch out, pulling a tree out of the ground, and the bumper didn't budge.
Now here's the other cool thing is you put that winch in without having to pull the bumper out.
Yes, correct.
Like it went right in.
Correct.
Is that only on this prototype, or the new one's gonna have like?
No, the new ones will be able to fit the winch in through the front. If you look here, all right, so there's a big cutout here, and we were able to slip the winch right through there and bolt it in from the bottom. And this is a 2018 Platinum, so it has the Toyota Safety Sense. And this is the Safety Sense sensor here. Now, not all the trucks have those. The 2018 and on do, or the Platinums do. And so for the guys that don't have this, we offer a blockout plate that'll go here, and there'll be a cutout so you can access your winch controls through here. So something else we did with the design of these bumpers is we had the transition work perfect with the RCI Tundra engine skid here. So these two made up just perfectly, and then you can follow through with the rest of the full RCI skid set.
So running the RCI skids from the second generation Tundra, obviously the frames are kind of like the same, but did you have to do any modifications to get the Tundra skids essentially from RCI to fit on the second generation Sequoia?
Yes, so these are the second gen Tundra RCI skids with the 26 gallon tank option. And the Tundra 26 gallon tank bracket does fit the Sequoia. But the transfer case skid does not clear the transfer case in the Sequoia. So we had to make a notch, maybe 5-6 inches wide and probably 1.5 inches deep to clear the output of the transfer case.
But and then that was the only thing you had to do?
Oh yeah, it took like literally 8 or 10 minutes. It was a real quick and easy thing.
So that's not bad at all.
No, because now we have full steel skids. And I mean, like, I bellied this one out on that gas tank skid, and it held up just fine. Shout out to RCI. All right, so because everybody wants to know, I get messages on Facebook about it all the time. We are currently designing a rear bumper. The rear bumper will have options. The options will be no swing outs, a little single swing out or dual swing outs. And that's really gonna add to the Sequoia's ability for like payload. Like we'll be able to put the spare tire up here. Right now I don't have a spare tire, and where the spare tire typically goes, underneath the bottom here, we will be doing a long range tank. I know a lot of people have been asking for that as well. So we will be doing a very, very, very tucked up, very clean and slim bumper back here with dual swing outs for, you know, your jerry cans, propane tanks, water tanks, whatever you want to put, as well as your spare tire.
When do you think the rear bumper will be up for production, and when do you think people are when would the consumer be able to purchase said rear bumper?
Okay. So our current plan, this is why all you guys have been asking on the TSOR and all the second gen Sequoia groups, who's coming to Jambo, because we plan on it. We're currently slightly ahead of schedule, a rear bumper on this second gen Sequoia with a 37 mounted right here and dual swing outs for Jamboree, which is April 28th through May 1st of this year.
Now, if you're not aware, the second generation Sequoias are IRS, which means independent rear suspension, and in the middle of, I guess, both lower control arms, you have your differential. It's a clamshell design, and that kind of hangs a little low, but not really. It's kind of up and out of the way, but it still does sometimes make contact with rocks and other on-trail debris. So what have we done to help remedy that?
Yeah, so you're right. It is actually very high. I believe I had a tick over 14 inches of clearance at the center diff in the rear, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of clearance. Like that's significantly more than say a Tundra on 37s. But I did manage to beat the diff up. Some of the fins on the bottom took a pretty hard hit, the cooling fins, and obviously you don't want to mess around with cooling. So we made or engineered a diff skid, and it bolts on in factory locations. The two front mounts are for the differential itself, and the rear there's some mounts in the subframe, and we go right through there with carriage bolts, so it's a nice smooth flat bottom, and it protects the full width of the rear subframe as well as the input shaft, and it curls up around the back of the subframe, so if you back up over something, it acts as a ramp.
Differential side, there's something that we did here at Tandem, which was we contracted, or we worked with who? Auburn Gear.
Yeah, they got with us. Or we got with them.
We got with them, and we had them cut out some gears for us for the second generation Sequoia, because if you wanted to re-gear a second gen Sequoia, there wasn't an option until we made the big step of actually going out and having gears cut out for us. So your truck is running 529s. Oh, I should know, I re-geared it.
Yep.
So you're running 37s and on 529 gears. How does the truck perform now with, what was the stock ratio, was 430, and now you're on 529. So yes. How does the truck's behavior change since you've done the re-gear, and has it affected, because people are always gonna ask, how's your mileage afterwards?
Okay, so it definitely has affected all of that. As far as how does it feel, the best way I've been able to describe it is the vehicle just feels smaller and lighter. So the drivetrain, the engine has a lot more leverage against the weight of the vehicle now, so it feels peppier. I know that sounds interesting to say because it's so heavy and big, but there's a lot more mechanical advantage to the 529s than the 430s had. So even though the Sequoia is humongous, it just moves around in traffic, gets up to speed so much quicker. You can really feel that it's not working as hard to do the same tasks I was asking of it previously. As far as mileage goes, I'm not really sure, because at the same time I did the 529s, I retuned the truck. So I did an engine tune, a 93 octane tune, and I didn't want to do that because I wanted to do more fuel economy testing on the gears, but the guy who tuned it for me, that was the slot in which he had, so that is what I had to take. But I can say that with the 529s and the tune, if I'm driving it conservatively, I can get low 13s out of it, And if I'm not driving it conservatively, I can get high 9s kind of consistently out of it. Which, so be it.
Now, as far as economy goes with the re-gear, we are going to be re-gearing Alex's rig here pretty soon, and he does not have an engine tune. So we'll have more of the fuel economy data for you guys later on here before, at least before Toyota Jamboree, we're hoping, or right after Toyota Jamboree. So along with the re-gear, we also did the BAM! Auburn Select Locked locking differential, which is also another world's first, or not world's first, but at least a first for the second generation Sequoia is having a rear differential locker.
Yes, that is hands down the best. Actually, we didn't really wheel this too severely prior to installing the locker, but since the locker has been installed, I've wheeled it pretty severely and actually taken the time while on the exact same trail to play with the A-track with the locker engaged versus the locker disengaged. And it is a phenomenal help to the second gen Sequoia. So as Pablo stated previously, they are independent rear suspension, which doesn't allow for a ton of articulation with the sway bars intact, which this truck does have its sway bars intact. So they do tend to get kind of wheel lifty and tripoddy, and having the locker engaged really keeps things mellow. I noticed when we try to do an obstacle without it, it wants to hop it around, and A-Track wants to bounce it and kind of be aggressive with it, and you just click the locker in and it just crawls right over whatever the obstacle is. They are big and massive trucks, but somehow they do exceptionally well off-road. It's actually pretty amusing to watch.
So obviously we've taken these things off-roading, we've gone and had fun with them. If you have been subscribed to the channel for a while, you've seen our previous videos of us taking the second generation Sequoias out on some trails. So real quick, like, people seen the footage, but what does it actually feel like to off-road this beast, or this big behemoth, the trail whale?
What does it feel like?
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy doing it, so it's fun. It does surprise me because I've allowed some of our friends to drive it, and I've spotted them, and I've had fun with it. I enjoy that. And sometimes I'm thinking, but then it does it, and I'm like, okay. There's some rash all over it from people accidentally hitting trees and not paying attention. But honestly, coming from a 2020 TRD Pro 4Runner, I believe this is more capable, and I believe it's tougher.
That's some strong words.
Yeah, but I had 3 4Runners, and I wheeled them all over the place. I've had a lot of Jeeps, and I've wheeled them all over the place. And I've had this for 50,000 miles, and I've wheeled it all over the place. I've done big trips in it, and I just think that. It's very tough. The components on this are very, very tough. Same components as the 200, same components as the Tundra. It's just a big old soccer mom thing. But they're just tough vehicles, and they work really well off-road. Something about the length and the width, it just works well.
Just works very well. Now, here's one thing that people are going to ask: CV axles. Have you broken any?
No, we haven't broken a CV axle yet. The CV axles are comically humongous. We haven't broken one. We have been pretty sure we were gonna. But we weren't able to break one yet. I'm not gonna say we were trying, but we were bouncing the trucks off ledges, big, 3-foot ledges. And as we've said a lot, these are very heavy vehicles. I believe this one is probably 6,800 to 7,200 pounds. Pablo's phone keeps ringing, so he keeps interrupting, and this has been difficult.
Sorry. When your mom calls, you have to answer it.
Yes.
But no, you haven't broken a CV axle.
Yes. We have attempted. We have been tough on them. Auburn actually said if we ship them one, they'll break it for us and tell us what the load is. That's kind of cool.
That is actually really cool.
We haven't done that yet, but we are interested in doing that. It is, everything on the rear end of the second gen Sequoia is specific to the second gen Sequoia. However, everything in the front is a 200 series Land Cruiser, Tundra, same thing. But the rear axle or rear CVs are humongous. and we don't anticipate breaking one, but neither does anybody else when they break one.
Yeah, well, and that's like a common concern though when people ask about the second generation Sequoias is how strong is the rear end, and this rear differential is massive, like massive. It's 10 inches in diameter on the ring gear. The carrier bearings are bigger than a Dana 60s. It is a beefy rear end, and it definitely handles the abuse. I can stand behind that. I've seen you guys do some crazy stuff with them, which is insane.
Yeah, and we've done Diamond 4s and 5s with them.
Yeah.
And luckily we had lockers. I don't think that stuff would have been possible without the lockers. So shout out to Auburn. Thanks for that. But man, they really just work. Obviously a big tire helps. Having a 37 helps, obviously. But the Sequoias, I think, are really slept on. I think they are. I think everybody uses them as like overland, like on-road things. But we're trying to prove that you can do overlanding off-road things as well.
So thank you, Jonathan, for hanging out with me this evening, and we got to talk about your Sequoia. We got to go over it, and that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you guys on the next one. We have another episode we got to go film. So see you guys. Bye. It's like we're lovers.
That's weird. I didn't feel it.
All right, so. See.